He found an abandoned bus in the snowy wilderness of Alaska. Inside there was a mattress, a stove and a lighter. For Chris, who was always drifting, this place felt like a treasure. On this icy land he was away from every problem. Time felt like it had stopped. There was no one around him. Chris cleaned up the bus. He brushed the dust off the mattress. This place became his base. But he slowly sank deeper into the wild. Chris raised a rifle and aimed at a moose. But he quickly realized something was wrong. It was not just prey. It was a mother. He gave up food for the coming months. Hard to believe unless you saw it yourself. Chris was born into a wealthy family. He also graduated from a top university. No one understood why he left everything behind and ran into the endless wild, even leaving his life there. This is a true story, and it feels deeply tragic. After watching it, you will take something from it. 2 years earlier, Chris had just graduated from college. With his grades, he could have kept studying. His father wanted to buy him a new car to replace his old one, but they almost got into a fight. Their relationship at home had always been tense. Chris was very strict with himself and never cared much about material things. He donated his $24,000 scholarship and destroyed his documents and bank cards without telling his parents. He drove his old car and started his own journey. He liked life on the road, slowly forgetting the past, escaping pressure, and moving further away from rules. But the real challenge had just begun. One night Chris stopped to rest, not knowing this place often floods. In the middle of the night the flood came suddenly. He survived by luck. After that he removed his license plates, not wanting to leave traces. Then he burned his cash, and officially began life on foot. 2 months later his parents realized he was gone. Later police found his license plate, and they finally understood. Chris did not want to be found. He lived in a simple tent. Most of the time he hitchhiked. In each place he liked, he would stay for a long time, watching slowly, feeling everything slowly. He often stayed in forests, listening to the sound of nature. Later he rode with a couple in a camper van. During the conversation he noticed tension between them. It reminded him of his own parents. Chris became who he was, largely because of his family. After graduating high school he bought a used car and drove across the country. Later he learned a hidden truth. His mother had interfered in his father's past family. When Chris and his sister were born, his father had not fully separated from his previous partner. For years his parents kept this secret. Chris felt betrayed, and his identity with his sister felt complicated. What hurt him more was that his father refused to acknowledge another son. This made Chris more and more disappointed. His whole life felt turned upside down, like a river flowing backwards. But he never spoke about it. He kept everything inside. The couple told him about a special place, a place with simple living, far away from the outside world. If Chris wanted to go there, they could even make him a hat. But for Chris every person on the road was temporary. After staying one day, he left quietly the next morning. The cheerful young man also reminded the couple of their own past. Chris still preferred traveling alone, enjoying solitude. Even simple food tasted better now. A plain apple felt special. Farm sprinklers became his shower. Passing cars became free rides. Sometimes Chris also compromised. To earn money he worked on a harvester, and stayed on a farm for a while. His final goal was always Alaska. He wanted to escape the world. Later he learned how to preserve meat from a hunter, slowly adapting to life there, and became friends with the farmer. But one day the farmer was arrested. Chris had to leave early, taking his pay and continuing on the road. That night in a store he saw a kayak. A new idea appeared in his mind. He buried his belongings under a bridge and prepared for a new journey. The next day Chris went to an office to ask for permission. The staff told him he needed a license and had to wait 12 years. He turned and walked away, then bought a kayak himself and decided to go on his own. He reached the riverbank and saw the strong rushing water. He paused for a moment, then pushed the boat into the river and began drifting downstream. River patrol noticed him quickly. The current was strong, but he kept moving forward and passed through dangerous sections. Later he met a couple on the riverbank. They were also traveling. They talked briefly. Chris learned the river could lead far to the ocean bay. Not long after patrol came again, and he had to leave the shore. The journey became more complex. He sometimes hitchhiked, sometimes walked, crossing different landscapes, passing dams and dry areas, moving away from river systems, into more deserted land. Finally he reached the coast. He saw the bay and marine life. He stayed in the area, even lived in a cave for a while, until a storm took his kayak. Without his tool he returned toward the city. But without identity it was hard to live. He stayed on the edge of society, trying to find ways to continue. He also took trains, moving forward across long distances. He heard messages on radio and television, and saw discussions about the world. These voices pushed him to keep going. He reached California area, and tried temporary shelters. But city life made him uncomfortable. Crowded streets felt chaotic. He once stood outside a bar, watching people inside, but did not enter. Then he left, he returned to a shelter, retrieved his belongings, and went back on the road again. He once again chose trains for travel. One night the train stopped. He was discovered and removed by staff. Later he returned to where he had buried his things, and reorganized his supplies. Memories of his family came back. His parents' relationship had always been unstable. Conflicts never stopped. During that time he kept moving, sometimes into cities, sometimes into wilderness. While he was gone the family situation also changed, but he still did not go back. He continued northward, gradually approaching the Alaska route, adjusting his path and survival methods, entering more primitive environments. He depended more on nature, sometimes hitchhiking, most of the time walking. He was truly leaving the city behind. On the way he met a traveling couple in a camper. They invited him to rest and eat. They shared a short time together. Chris felt family tension in their words, which reminded him of his own past. He remembered his life after graduation, when he crossed the country in a used car. Later he discovered the family secret. His parents' relationship was not simple. His identity was shaken, but he never told anyone. He kept traveling in silence. He once worked on a farm, learned to drive harvest machines, and how to store food. He became familiar with locals. Later he met an experienced hunter, and learned how to handle game meat. Life became stable for a while, but the farmer was taken away later, and his job ended. He left again with his earnings. That night he saw a kayak in a store, and a new path formed in his mind. He buried his items again, and prepared for water travel. On the river journey, he faced rapids and drifting currents, met other travelers briefly, and kept moving forward. He was chased at times, and constantly changed direction, until he reached open water. He stayed near the coast, lived close to nature, even stayed in caves, until a storm destroyed his equipment. Forced back to the city edge, he struggled without identity. He tried to keep moving, took trains, and briefly stayed in shelters, but city life never suited him. He returned to the wild route, step by step toward Alaska. His body became thinner. He read a book in nature, about simple living, about connection between people. These ideas made him rethink life. In his final journey, he began to understand survival was harder than he thought. Water became dangerous. Food became scarce. When he tried to cross a river he nearly drowned, and barely made it back. After that he returned to the old bus, and lived alone. But food shortage became serious. He tried to gather wild plants, but accidentally ate a poisonous one. His body started to weaken. He searched for solutions, but his strength kept fading. He became trapped in the wilderness. He wrote his final notes, and realized human connection is important. Loneliness cannot replace everything. In the end he returned to the bus, and spent his final time alone, slowly losing strength in silence. Chris' story reminds us, happiness does not only come from relationships, it also comes from nature and inner experience. He walked into mountains and rivers, to feel the real world. Many people gain new understanding of life from his journey. Whenever we want, we can pause and look at ourselves, and find direction in simplicity. While seeking freedom, we should not ignore those who care about us. His journey showed him, family and connection truly matter. Sharing and understanding make life more complete.